Hello friends of Tony's Little Garden, welcome to another video where today we face a real challenge. We are going to see everything we need to be able to grow wasabi in our garden. This plant is from Fitoralia, and honestly I was really eager to bring it to the channel. As you can see, I'm not next to the garden because it requires specific conditions and climates for cultivation. That's why today I am on this side of the farm, and you will all understand now. And that's because the first thing we need to know is the location where to plant the wasabi, since, as I mentioned before, it will be there for a very long time. We also need to know the sun exposure it needs. Wasabi is native to Japan, where it has been cultivated for centuries in mountainous regions, and it is a perennial plant that can live for several years. If grown in optimal conditions, which is what I will show you in this video. Its growth is slow and it can take between 18 and 24 months to reach maturity. Its leaves, as you can see, are large and heart-shaped, and they can also be consumed in salads or as a garnish. As I mentioned before, Ayayosienao has been cultivated in mountainous regions, so that indicates to us that wasabi prefers partial shade exposure or indirect light. That's why I have chosen this area of the farm, because it offers the most shade and only gets sun late in the afternoon, which would be somewhat similar to what it would find in its habitat, natural, under the cover of trees in Japanese forests. And it does not tolerate direct sunlight continuously at all. It can burn its leaves and diminish its production and growth. That is why the best time to plant wasabi would be in spring or autumn, when temperatures are more moderate. In very hot summer climates, it's better to avoid these months, and in the temperate climates such as mine, we could cultivate it all year round. And knowing this and having chosen the site out while I prepare the soil, while I dig the hole, I will tell you about the type of soil that the wasabi. Wasabi, as I mentioned before, is a mountainous and humid crop, so we must look for soils that are well moistened, rich in organic matter, and with good drainage. And partly for that reason I have chosen this area of the farm, because it is quite humid. So as with any plant that comes in a pot, what we will always do is make a hole that is double the size of the pot. This way, we will then improve the nutrients by adding manure, compost, or worm humus. I already told you it needs soils rich in organic matter. Once we've made the hole, as you can see, it has a very good depth. We are going to improve our soil. I know my soil is quite clayey, but we can do a homemade test, which I leave here, to know what type of soil we have. So we're going to add a good amount of matter, which also, as you can see, is full of worms. This will be great for our wasabi. I always like to add a handful at the bottom so that the plant starts searching for nutrients, and then I always cover it with a little bit of soil just in case, to prevent the roots from burning. We mix it well so we get a very homogeneous mixture and make the soil much lighter, which helps with drainage. As you see, it hasn't rained for days, and yet look how wet it is. In summary, wasabi likes cool climates and partial shade, and the ideal growing temperature would be between 18 and 18 degrees. And be very careful with the winters, if they are excessively harsh, because it is not resistant to frost. Once we have the soil prepared, we have the base ready, we will eagerly take our little plant out of its pot. As you can see, it has a lot of substrate and will have a large root. They support it. As you know from other videos, I always like to plant it a bit below ground level, because that way the rains help me keep it more humid. The rain's moisture is retained on the ground, so we add a bit more, just like that. Perfect. We hold it, and we keep adding the soil, trying to make it as even as possible. We give a firm half. This good mixture of soil full of nutrients rich in organic matter will help the plant develop perfectly. And as you can see, at this time of the afternoon, there is still at this time of the afternoon, there is still shade, which is great. We are in the middle of the afternoon. As you can see, I am planting the plant directly, but it is usually grown from rhizomes, and the treatment would be the same. It should be buried at a depth of about 5 centimeters, with the upper bud barely exposed. And the planting distance, if we wanted to put more than one plant, would be 30 centimeters to allow good root development. It could even be cultivated from seeds, although it is quite more complicated, as it requires high humidity, constant, and will take between 2 and 4 weeks to germinate, and the process is much slower. So it's usual either to find the plant or to find the rhizome. And as always, after having planted or sown something, we are going to apply a very good irrigation, and I will talk a little about watering wasabi. And regarding wasabi, you can imagine after everything we have discussed, its irrigation needs. It needs watering constant, and you must keep the soil moist but not waterlogged. Notice how well I have the soil, which has not become waterlogged at any time. It has filtered the water perfectly. And as I was saying, in its natural habitat, it grows near flowing river water. So fresh and oxygenated water is ideal for cultivation. In home gardens or urban gardens, it is recommended to use rainwater or filtered water without any chemicals that could harm the plant. We have already seen one of its fundamental aspects, which is watering, and now we are going to look at diseases and pests. There are two main pests that can attack our wasabi. Snails are annoying. I left the plant outside for just one night and see how they've started to eat all the leaves. And the other one is aphids. We have to be careful with these two pests, but we have really seen many remedies to combat them. And as the main diseases, obviously we have fungi produced, and that can damage the root due to overwatering and poor drainage. To avoid this problem of poor drainage diseases, we are going to add a good mulch for our plant, with all the benefits that it brings. And mulch not only provides and helps us add organic matter, while it decomposes, but it will also help us keep the soil moist during the driest seasons, such as spring and summer, and it will help us keep the soil warmer in the cold winter months. Additionally, it also helps prevent competing weeds. It has a ton of benefits, and I'm leaving a link here for you to take a look. I am mulching right now with straw, which I like the least because it always ends up germinating. But well, I didn't have anything else at the moment. As you can see, wasabi is quite a difficult crop, or at least more complicated than other crops we have in the garden. First, due to its need for sun exposure. Second, because it doesn't like high temperatures, and third, because the snails love it. So we have to be very attentive and above all watch the irrigation. However, for all of you who like these kinds of strange different crops and especially a good spice, I advise you to try it. To cultivate. Regarding associations, truly few crops tolerate or like partial shade as much as this one. So it would be ideal, for example, to place it underneath in an edible forest. So that's it, gardeners. Lastly, let me tell you we have a WhatsApp channel, which I leave in the video description, where every week I publish the video that I upload. That's it, and nothing less. A channel that does not have any type of spam. It's simply to keep you informed. And so I hope you liked the video. Above all, that it was helpful, that it encourages you to cultivate. This different crop is also complicated in another way. And that's it. See you next Thursday on the channel of La Huertina de Tony. See you later.